There are many kinds of people in the world, and of them there are those who move the world, the many who move with the world, the mass majority that let the world move them, and then there's a few that the world moves for them. It's hard to discern who is in that last group, but we often group them all and just say they were lucky. That last group encompasses individuals that hold terrifying power that many don't fully realize. And I think in the One Piece world, that power is held by the genius jester, Buggy. Characters like him are capable of moving the world by moving with the world, and because of that, right now, Crosscut is set up to be the most powerful Yonko group in the race for the One Piece, and I want to connect you to a big reason as to why. And if you're new to the channel, the way I view the world is by making connections. So let me connect you to my vision, the Parvision. This video is sponsored by Aura, an all-encompassing solution that covers a password manager, VPN, antivirus, storage, and ID protection. Aura is actively monitoring my web browser, email, and phone number across the dark web, but also from leaks coming from very public companies. Recently, AT&T revealed that nearly all their customers' call and text records had been exposed in a massive data breach, and it hasn't even been a few months since they admitted over 70 million of their users' social security numbers ended up on the dark web. With Aura, you don't have to be in the dark about where your information is, because they will swiftly notify you if there's anything to worry about. And I'm sure you have experienced an increase in texts from services that you use when in reality they're well-designed phishing attempts. Well, Aura offers an AI-powered call assistant that protects you from harmful text messages and calls by filtering out known spam numbers, scanning links, and calls, which will take a huge burden off your shoulders but also your family's. Think about how hard it would be to teach your parents how to safely maneuver through the forever evolving digital landscape, or worse, having to help them get out of a phishing scam after they already fell victim to it. With Aura's user-friendly interface, you can track everything and finally take control of your security. Thanks to Aura, I'm not leaving my family vulnerable to data breaches, and if you want to protect your digital existence, use the link aura.com/parvision to try your first 2 weeks of Aura for free. Link is in the description, and thank you Aura for protecting my community. Now, it's no secret that Buggy is destined for greatness in the story of One Piece, and I think he gains a lot of ire because some of us might know a Buggy in real life, and honestly, it can be kind of frustrating seeing how simple it looks to always fall upwards, as it seems to be the case with Buggy, and we've begun to call this the Buggy Effect. But comparison is the thief of joy, and we have to respect that not everyone makes it to the top this way, and it's not as simple as you think. Most people would probably prefer to be like Shanks, but fail to realize the burden on his shoulders that he has to carry, and that's the same with Luffy and even Blackbeard to a certain extent. In a lot of ways, Buggy is the opposite of Shanks, even with regards to his crew. Nearly everyone is a bigger threat than Buggy is, but not only can they not kill him, but they're also relying on him, and many even believe in him. Both Shanks and Buggy garner the same adoration from their affiliates, and in a lot of ways, Buggy has to put on the same facade as Shanks does, if not more, knowing that it's empty bluffs. And I don't know if I would want to be in Buggy's shoes having to bet on myself like that. But when you get someone eating their charisma as well as Buggy is doing in chapter 1122, you begin to realize how terrifying it will be when he learns to harness this power he has. Though Cross Guild might be in last place for the Poneglyph race, I think they might actually be the most powerful Yonko group for one simple reason. And no, I'm not going to say it's because of Mihawk, all the sword swallowers simmer down, but sure, Luffy has Gear 5 and Zoro, Shanks is Shanks and his main crew are all apparently monsters, and then there's Blackbeard, the off-screen champion. But each group will most likely fall behind due to their allegiances. Luffy has the Grand Fleet that has been incredibly helpful in giving Luffy more infamy. Leo and Sai attacked a Celestial Dragon, his main friends are reclused or princesses on the run, and Barto actually attacks Shanks' territory, which kind of sabotages Luffy as well. With Shanks, we know his Yonko crew is all just a facade when it comes to his fleet, as they are weaklings who uses Shanks' name for protection. And Blackbeard is probably the most well-endowed because he is the boss and most likely future king of Pirate Island. Of the current Yonko, Blackbeard probably has the most territories and clearly has a network of information that literally allows him to run laps on the global scale of which Shanks can't even keep up with. And even Luffy's own story has been riddled with Blackbeard's updates. All that being said, the underdog sleeper champion of the world has been rising, not even in the shadows. Buggy has been in everyone's faces this entire time. They've just chosen to ignore him or not believe in his threat. I mean, even Sengoku admits that Cross Guild is a much bigger threat to the world than he could have realized. It's actually what he said and what Vegapunk said that come together to make Buggy the literal boogeyman. We have to recognize that just like Blackbeard, Buggy is always in the right place at the right time, in a much more effortless way, and you can even say an efficient way. Luffy went to Impel Down to save Ace, and Blackbeard went there specifically to recruit crewmates. They both had an agenda, but Buggy was just there by coincidence. In fact, he was kind of already escaping before Luffy even got there, and he managed to come out with arguably the most assets since his group of prisoners was strong enough to be recognized as an actual force by Whitebeard, and they were loyal to Buggy with no effort, unlike Blackbeard's group that needed him to prove his merit. If Blackbeard failed, they would disband, but Buggy's group would see Buggy fail and obscure reality and move the world to fit Buggy's best timeline. That's Buggy's superpower. By being who he is, I think he somehow is always in his best timeline. When we think about killing Luffy, Kaido is nearly 1,000 chapters too late since Buggy almost accomplished this in chapter 100. We still don't know the circumstances of how Buggy got on Roger's ship, but being there probably reflects the same attribute. Doflamingo's empire fail, and right place, right time, the world moved to make Buggy king yet again. Even when Buggy self-sabotages his dreams, the world moves to make him a world-class threat. But now it's different. Buggy changed. In chapter 1082, Buggy put his foot down and is no longer just falling upward. Buggy is now planting his feet and allowing himself to be carried into the heavens. And I'm not even talking about his crew. I'm not saying the world's strongest swordman is going to hard carry, nor will Crocodile. See, the thing is, Buggy's devil fruit actually reflects his ability really well. His feet can be anywhere. As long as they are protected, Buggy can reach the heavens and just float there. Any and every part of his body can spread in every direction and manage to capture the best potential. As long as his feet are grounded, he is kind of unstoppable in that regard. All he has to do is reach out and the world will move for him. And so the one simple thing that Buggy has that the rest don't is reach. The thing that Sengoku was afraid of wasn't Buggy, nor was it Mihawk, or the vast power underneath them. It was simply Buggy's PR, his marketing. By putting bounties on Marines, that puts the Marines on the back foot. The people they protect will now stab them in the back. The Navy can't just abandon them, but Buggy has now with a single move destabilized the Navy, and as Sengoku put it, they have to strike them down, otherwise they will sap the Navy's morale. Vice Admiral T-Bone allegedly was killed by an impoverished kingdom aligned with the world government, and though he was beloved, he could not escape being sacrificed to protect the public. But that's not all. Buggy's operation seeped into Pirate Island as well. When you go back to Kobe's escape, you remember that Blackbeard wanted to use Kobe as a bargaining chip, but when he escaped, the pirates were all motivated by the bounty Cross Guild had on him, which would have ruined Blackbeard's plan. Again, with one single move, Buggy managed to put thorns in Blackbeard's kingdom. Those thorns don't affect Luffy and Shanks too much, but the reach soon will because of Vegapunk's message. Now that the world knows how important the One Piece is, how will they act? The fate of the world is in the hands of whoever gets the One Piece. People's lives are on the line now. And it's not just some fairy tale of wealth, fame, and power that Roger spewed 24 years ago. They just experienced a fraction of the predicted global catastrophe, and many have lost their homes or even their entire island. The Navy hasn't protected them, and it's even said that the world government is involved in covering this up. So if you weren't on board with them before, you're definitely not on board with them now. And the reality is, with the world sinking, you have to get on board someone's ship. So whose ship is the world going to choose? If you're a pirate, then sure, Blackbeard seems great, but what if you're not? We know Shanks takes in weaklings, but only because they're his friends. The Revolutionary Army might seem great, but if you paid attention, you'd remember that they're the direct enemy of the world government, and they now have a weapon that can delete you off the map, as they did with Lucia. And lastly, Luffy literally doesn't care about you, and thinks more people are just a nuisance to his journey, which leaves only one choice really, and that'd be the one that the common folk have already chosen. Remember, when their back was against the wall, the people of Pepe Kingdom bet on Buggy's Cross Guild to pay them out, and that's what I think Buggy will harness. He will become the symbol of hope for the world at large. Everyone who is shocked by Vegapunk's message, if they choose to follow Buggy, remember, it's not his world, it's our world. I'm not gonna lie, when I read the chapter in the live stream, I got sucked into Buggy's charisma too. The crying, the hard eyes, the fanfare, it all makes sense, but that's still not the full power Cross Guild is going to wield. See, a common topic on this channel recently, but going back to even my Fraud Valley video that correctly predicted several aspects of God Valley, is that information is the most powerful weapon right now. Big News Morgans has literally been weaponizing it, but he is only the DJ. He calls himself the mover shaker because he spins the news to make the world move and shake, but Buggy will soon replace him, or rather monopolize him. Because what I think Buggy's next move will be is to put out information bounties. Remember how King had a 100 million berry bounty on just his appearance? Now imagine that, but for the man marked by flames. Blackbeard has been searching for this guy based off of rumors for at least a year now, but how much easier do you think it will be if Buggy puts a global bounty on this man, or the Poneglyph? With a simple move, the world will move for Buggy and bring him what he needs. Not because he is forcing them, but because the world will want to, and they believe in him. And it doesn't have to stop there. He could put bounties on information about Blackbeard and Shanks and Luffy. If Buggy does that, he won't need to wait for Morgans to report it in the newspaper. The information will become direct. As we covered in the last video, Blackbeard has been abusing the news network, and on top of that, he has dodged being placed in the news himself, and his movements even escape Shanks' future sight and intel. But if I'm correct, now any witness to Amazon Lily or Whole Cake Island or Winter's Island or Pirate Island can report to Buggy and tell them Blackbeard's movements. That applies to Shanks and Luffy and the Navy as well. It might turn out that Buggy will become a beacon of hope on the tier of Sabo for the liberated kingdoms, and Dragon as a revered figurehead that doesn't have to do much but commands one of the most unified factions in the world. Buggy can put out bounties on ancient weapons, poneglyphs, or people, or even locations. The sky's the limit, honestly, and while money is a limited source, the power to secure it isn't when you have someone like Mihawk at your side. The reality is, while the world is falling apart and people are literally falling down into the ocean, wouldn't the best man to save you be the one who is always falling upwards? Someone whose literal power is to break apart and be able to reach anything, and ironically has historically always been in the right places anyways? This plan almost sounds too genius, but isn't it fitting for the genius jester? Before that, Buggy was the 1,000-piece clown or the star clown, and I can't help but see the world where Oda lets Buggy become the biggest star on the One Piece planet. One that Morgans becomes jealous of, and one that the other Yonko can't ignore. The Buggy Effect is seemingly finally taking effect on Mihawk and Crocodile, and with these two protecting each of Buggy's feet, I think Buggy will have the proper base and foundation to become the Yonko with the most acceleration towards the One Piece. Who better to make it to Laugh Tale than a literal clown? And there's one last IRL connection that I wanted to share, but before that I do want to thank you for being here. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider liking and sharing this video and subscribing to the channel. That being said, the last thing that I want to say that I randomly came across while I was picking up medicine was what I think Oda will essentially give Buggy, which is a symbol. Well, technically it already is his symbol, but more so on the level of a straw hat. See, as Luffy's name spans the world, every nation he saves, he leaves a mark. And some have now donned the straw hat, like on Fishman Island. In the same vein, we have to recognize that clothing and accessories are a huge focus for Oda, especially the case for uniforms as we see like with the Beast Pirates who all have Oni armor. I mean, even Blackbeard has Kuzan dressing up matching Van Augur for some reason. But that being said, Oda loves to create unity with symbols, and I think the way the world will band under Buggy is by donning the red nose. And what I came across was this organization called Comic Relief that campaigns their initiatives with Red Nose Day. Basically, it's a global movement that started in 1985 that sells a red clown nose for charity. It was started by two comedians and they raise money for impoverished and starving children, which ironically is what Buggy is kind of doing with Cross Guild. And while not intentional, I think Pepe Kingdom is definitely grateful for the funding he provided them. We might start seeing pockets of the world start wearing the red nose to mimic Buggy in an act of reverence, and it might even be started by his own Cross Guild. And who knows, maybe that becomes a money source if they start selling them too. My most outlandish take here is I wouldn't be surprised that in order to really sell them, Mihawk and Crocodile will have red noses too, which will be hilarious beyond belief, but extremely effective marketing. One of the joke ideas I had when writing this is that Buggy gives everyone a buggy ball as a nose that they can use to protect themselves or attack. But then I was like, no way everyone just has explosives on their faces. And regardless of all that, it might end up that Buggy continues his trend of being propped up, but further gaining the reputation of a non-profit charity group that saves people from hunger, kind of like a church. And Buggy will end up being seen like the sun god warrior of liberation that saves people from starvation, kind of like Luffy on Wano, or the various kingdoms Luffy saved. The hero that neither of them cared to be, but will comically end up being how the world sees them, no matter how silly or goofy they look. And no matter how silly or goofy I looked, I think all those years of me betting on Buggy paid off. So maybe more of you will start seeing the vision. And so, like always, thank you for connecting with me, and I'm looking forward to connecting with you all on the next Parvision.